Hey, Senator Jez here, and with Charles Sparkley. And a lot of people go over their rigs, their pedals, their amps. Well, I have three different rigs. I have a few pedals, but I have three main rigs. One is my Marshall Code 50, which in it of itself is a guitar emulator built into a Marshall amp. I also use Tone Stack by Yonax software, and I use AmpliTube. Today I'm going to go over one of my rigs in AmpliTube and how I get my sounds there. So we are going to go over the Atmos GOAT is what I call it. And the Atmos GOAT is what I use for most of my ambient stuff. I have several atmospheric ambient patches, but this is my favorite. It can be dark, it can be quiet and low key. So let's go over what builds this in AmpliTube. So I start with my Dual Terror Orange emulation. I like the orange amps for the ambient stuff, believe it or not. I like the tone. So on this one, I'm actually using the Tiny Terror channel. And on that one, I have my volume almost all the way up. I have my tone geared more towards scoop. And I have my gain a little bit past halfway. I also have the amp set to full rather than half, which it's virtual, but it actually still makes a difference. It does make a difference in the output of the amp. Now, my before the amp chain, I start off with the Swell Effect from AmpliTube. I have it set to the BPM of the song that I'm playing. And what Swell does is it actually creates a volume swell, which is what I would normally do on my Code 50 with a volume pedal. But on this, it automates it. I can also put my volume pedal into this if I would like. But when I'm sitting here at my desk recording into my computer, it makes more sense for me to have the swell there. Now, as for the time, I usually have it set right in the 490 range. It's hard to get it exactly when I'm just doing this on the spot. That's milliseconds, I believe. The depth and the sensitivity I have relatively high, and that's because I like I find that setting just basically takes the bite. Oops, I had that falling off there. I find that setting takes the bite just off the edge of the attack. Now, next up, I have the Stargate Threshold, which is part of the not Richie Blackmore, Brian May collection. And the original noise gate that comes with AmpliTube, never was a fan of it. But the Stargate from the Brian May collection is really transparent. So it really does well in these situations where I'm playing not without a lot of gain or anything, actually going for the more softer sounds. And then I have an equalizer next. Now, I do a little bit of shaping with the equalizer, as you can see. I do a little bit of a scoop on it, actually. But if you notice on the gain, I have that up because generally when I'm playing the Atmos GOAT, I'm using my metal foil pickups on Charles Sparkley. Sometimes I do use the humbucker, but generally I use the metal foil, and those are lower. I think they're 6K and 5K output, so they're low output. So I need to give a little bit more oomph to this signal going into the orange, especially after the swell and the Stargate kind of are knocking down the signal a little bit. Now, the next pedal that I have in play here is the emulation of the Univibe. I have it set to chorus. I have a pretty low rate, well below halfway there. The intensity also just about 2, but volume I have max because that's giving me a little bit more of an oomph going into the orange amp. Now post FX, I have the Echo Trip by Orange. That's a pedal emulation that's part of the Orange package in AmpliTube. I have just over halfway setting on the feedback. The time I have pretty high as well. And the level I keep a little bit past halfway. And the tone is just slightly past halfway. And then I put a reverb unit on that, level all the way up. And the swell, I have it set to just past halfway. And the tone right about halfway, just a slightly past 5 there. And I find that that's a sweet spot for this tone. So as you can see, I can play it sort of like a spacey blues if I want. But when I'm playing it in the more ambient space, it works as well. Now, I get a completely different sound on this setup when I go to my humbucker, which is a Dream 180. These are metal foils from Guitar Fetish, and this is the Dream 180 from Guitar Fetish. It's not a super high output humbucker, and I have it so I can coil split it. But when I do this, I keep it in the humbucker position, and this actually in this one patch makes a clicky sound almost because it's picking up a lot more, and I have all of that gain staging set. So this one produces a... It's not all that utilitarian, but I kind of like that click. And that's it hitting the swell really hard with a lot more signal than the metal foils. This patch was meant to be played with the metal foils, and I generally play it in the 4th position, which is these two mixed. So it goes from that to, with the humbucker, a lot more signal, that little click thing. It is not utilitarian, but I've used it a couple of times just because it's such a unique sound. Giving you an example of if I were to pull the metal foil into single coil, not the metal foil, the Dream 180. Still has a little bit of the click there, but if I were to pull it, let's say, to the middle position, single coil, but my favorite position is, of course, right here in the 4th position. I also roll back a little bit on the tone to get it a little darker. And there you have it. Not very in-depth, but just showing you a little bit of how I create some of my sounds here in AmpliTube. That is the Atmos GOAT, my general go-to for ambient guitar playing. And I'll go over another patch next time, and we may hit some tone stack stuff, and I definitely want to go over some stuff from the Marshall Code 50. So with that, Senator Jez, I'm out, y'all. See you later. Bye.